Ladies and gentlemen, player interviews have taken place over the last couple of days, and boy, what I would pay to have been a fly on the wall in Bobby Hill's exit interview. It's time to talk all things black and white. First things first, I just want to pay credit to Terry from Blue Abroad for the idea of this video. He's the one who created this, so I am simply just taking his idea and turning it into our own black and white spin. So thank you, Terry. I do appreciate your creative ideas. Now, the concept of these videos, we will do a few of these where we talk about players for reasons X, Y, Z, and have an educated guess in what is being said throughout these exit interviews with players. So we start with Bobby Hill, and we'll start from the beginning of the season and work our way into the context of maybe what was discussed in the interview over the last couple of days. So Bobby was having a season where he was not touching the ball as much as he had in seasons gone by, but his scoring, involvement in scoring, his goal kicking and his goal assist ability was still the same. So you had games like Essendon where he was completely absent, and then in that third quarter he just turned it on and turned the game on its head. So we've come to acquaint ourselves with Bobby Hill just coming in and out of games, and I think we've accepted that as a small forward. That's just the lay of the land. I know Cam Rayner is not a small forward, but you look at his game against us in the prelim, and sorry to bring up or to reveal an open wound, but he did nothing in that first half, absolutely nothing, and then tore us apart in that third quarter. So that's just the role that is, and as long as we get the output on the scoreboard from a Bobby Hill, that was all that mattered. And you tie that in with how well we were going while Bobby was in the team, and then you go, I'm quite calm with that, aren't I? The brewing of the adversity started, or it started to rear its head in media when Bobby was a late out for North Melbourne. And then I'm led to believe he came back for a game. And then I think whenever we played West Coast, he also pulled out for that game for personal reasons. And then there was a little bit of an absence, and there was a lot of question marks as to what's going on. And look, we've heard a lot of things on the grapevine. Some may be true, some may not be. But out of respect, we're not going to speculate around the potential what ifs of the Bobby Hill bluing with his cousin Brad Hill, losing trust with the players, the family adversities which have been well highlighted. We're not going to go there. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but we're going to talk about how we can move forward from this as a club, as a player, as Bobby Hill, the person outside of the football club. So then after that second bout of leave that he took from that West Coast game, this was his biggest downfall, where he was potentially spiraling in his own head and whatnot. And this is where, we essentially lost him for a little bit. There was probably around a month of absence, and then little injections of attending a session here, attending a session there, but it was very inconsistent, and he was just never going to play at that point, was he? And then he comes back. So he came back before all the month of absence. He came back through the VFL, looked like he hadn't missed a beat, was fit to perform, ready to go. Comes into that Brisbane game late in the season, comes on as a sub in that fourth quarter, late in the third, and he's once again just looks like Bobby Norm. And then he goes again, and he's gone for a month, a little bit longer if you include a couple of sessions being attended to there. And then it's seemingly something changed in the landscape of his situation, which meant whether that be extra support, emotional support from the club, Eddie Betts, family. See, it's hard to tread around this conversation. And then with this support, he put his best foot forward to try come back. I think so. His comeback officially probably started on the week of the qualifying final, and then he has a VFL scratch match. And mind you, he cancelled a showing where he was supposed to be, I guess, one of the main pieces of an event. He had an event to attend to that he was obliged to, and he cancelled it last minute to give himself the best chance to play in the preliminary final. And from there, he intended training consistently. Eddie Betts was there, literally in his pocket, just watching him, ensuring that he's getting to training and giving himself every chance. Going into the qualifying final, the pre-game press conference from Fly, they asked a question about Bobby, and then Fly said, "Look, I knew you guys were going to ask a lot of questions about Bobby Hill in this interview." And I asked Bobby, we had dinner the other night. He said, Fly asked the question. He says, "When they ask, will Bobby play again this year? What do you want me to say?" And then Bobby said, "Just leave just a small piece of hope and optimism that I can be there." So that's what we hear. So there's some hope left to see Bobby Hill against Brisbane in the prelim. In the end, he falls short of the prelim. Fly said he was told before training that he wouldn't be selected. Now, most of us felt like we knew the Monday of the prelim week, but Fly indicates that he had told Bobby Thursday before main training that he's not going to be selected. So read into that how you wish, but that's what Fly said. And then post that prelim, you go, okay, off season, what's going on with Bobby Hill? And then you hear Tony Shaw immediately in the aftermath of that prelim suggesting that the Collingwood Football Club should use Bobby Hill as good fodder to bring some trades back into the club. And for me, if you want my opinion on that matter, I think for a Collingwood legend, 1990 Premiership captain, I think that's a bit too raw to react like that immediately after a game about somebody who has been troubled all year. And moreover, more important than anything else, are you just going to fold on a player because he had a period of 3 months where he had to deal with outside issues? He played 15 games this year, guys. It's not like he was gone for the whole season. Yes, I understand he was gone for the most important part of the season, but it was 3 months and he's already back on the saddle, so to speak. And then Bobby puts the clown emoji in reaction to that on an Instagram post, and there's uproar. Oh, Bobby's calling Tony a clown and so on and so forth. But I think if you look into it, Bobby is probably pointing out that the comment from Tony Shaw is that of a clown comment, not that Tony Shaw is a clown. He's a legend of the club. All right. It's not a good look, but it is what it is. So that gave us some peace of mind when Bobby comments the clown emoji on that post, because it suggests that he's going to be at the club next year. And then a couple hours later, he posts a photo on Instagram saying, "This year was full of up and downs. Can't wait for the next one. Go Pies, blah, blah, blah." And so here we are. We arrive at the exit interview. And I've highlighted some key points that I feel like a lot of the fan base would have liked to have asked if they were Fly or Lepich or whoever it may be in that player exit interview with Bobby Hill. So the leading into it, I would imagine that, like, we'll just say Fly's leading this interview. Fly, I would like to think Fly would go in and say, first things first, we back you in, just like we did with the previous generations of the club who faced their own dramas off field. You can go back to as recent as Jordan De Goey. You can go back to Dane Swan, Heath Shaw, Alan Didak, Ben Johnson, so on and so forth. So that is entrenched in the cloth of the black. That is, cut from the cloth of the black and white. Okay? Trying to make sense of that. Eddie Maguire was a big advocate for backing players, and we're gonna keep that trend. We're not just gonna kick them to the curb just because they've had a bad stretch in their life for 3 months. All right, let's be real. We're all human here. Unfortunately, in the environment that Bobby Hill lives in, anything you do is exacerbated and it is what's the word? Amplified under the spotlight if you are an AFL player with anything you do on the field, off the field, doesn't matter. The next question Fly would probably be asking to Bobby is, can you come back as fit as possible for day one of the preseason? Because we've seen beyond his conditioning, he's lost weight. Now, that's something we don't need to speculate about, but we do know that he has lost significant weight. Clearly not eating for whatever reason, but that's something he needs to get back. He looked pale, so he just needs to get healthy. And that can be achieved off the field. Food, sleeping well, eating well, and everything else in between. My hard-hitting question is, to Bobby, if I was Fly, is what are your intentions over the next couple of years? Are you here for 1 year? Is it contingent on whether your family goes back to Western Australia? And as fans, are we willing to accept that Bobby Hill is at the volition of where his family chooses to live? Okay? And you can, so there's a couple perspectives to this, right? You can say, I want Bobby in the black and white as long as possible until he wishes to leave, if he wishes to leave. Or, on the other hand, you say, okay, Bobby potentially could leave. We heard John Ralph suggested that Bobby Hill would consider leaving Collingwood if his family does relocate to Western Australia. So the question is now, if that's the case, do you want to put him on a trade table now while his stocks are high and he's not injured and he's relatively healthy and still young? Or do you run the risk of keeping him on your list and he plays a couple of years and then he might lose that trade value? Maybe he's not the same player. Worst case scenario. So that's the question I would present to you guys and would like to extend that into the comment section. But all in all, we just want a better, healthy, happier Bobby Hill going into next year. But I would like to think that I would like to know and be clear on what Bobby Hill's intentions are for the future and what the club think of it. Are they happy to stick with him for as long as he's here, or would they move him on? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. And as always, go Pies.